Hello Tech Pros, episode 259. Welcome to the podcast where we explore the opportunities, challenges, and anxieties that technical professionals and techpreneurs face when building their career, building their products, and building their business. This show is about the people behind technology and the mindsets and skill sets they developed that led to their success. You can learn more about this podcast and our guests at hellotechpros.com and about overcoming social anxiety at anxietynerd.com. All right, let's get started. Hello, Tech Pros. This is Chad Bostic, and I'm excited to introduce our featured guest today, Anthony Delgado. Hey, Anthony, how's it going, man?
Hey, Chad. Going pretty good. How are you?
Welcome back, dude. You were back here. Let's see. You were on episode 203, so almost like 50-something episodes ago. Things have changed on Hello Tech Pros, and I bet things have changed for you a little bit as well.
Absolutely, man. Things have been really moving quickly.
It is a fun time that we live in, and for our audience that doesn't know Anthony, let me introduce you real quick, and then we'll get into what the last episode was about, and then what we're going to be talking about in this episode. So Anthony Delgado has been an explorer of the digital space for over a decade, from transforming startups into multi-million-dollar organizations to helping nonprofits develop digital solutions to real-world problems. Anthony's passion is using software to help change the way people interact with the world around them. Anthony is a full-stack developer and technology hero at websignia, a digital strategy and innovation agency. websignia has worked with a wide variety of different companies, including sports, media, entertainment, healthcare, government agencies, and nonprofits. And if you missed episode 203, that episode was called Hacking Technology for Fun and Profit, mostly fun. And we had a blast talking about all the things that Anthony has hacked since his childhood of, that story. I'm not going to spoil it for the audience, but that story of playing video games and broadcasting it and the whole neighborhood picking it up on their TV sets, or at least the neighbors around you. That was really, really cool. An awesome episode. One of my most popular episodes. I haven't told you that, Anthony, but it's absolutely been one of my most popular Sunday Being Unplugged episodes. And I'm not sure if it made it into the top 10 overall, but it's definitely one of the top episodes that we published here at Hello Tech Pros. And I just had a blast on that subject. That was amazing.
Absolutely, Chad. I'm honored. Yeah, the focus on that episode was about using extracurricular events like meetups, like hackathons, like technology conferences, and using that as a way to unplug. Mm-hmm. We're working hard and we're always trying to perfect our craft. And I really think it's beneficial to do extracurricular activities that are still job-related, but then can still also be fun. So that was the topic, I guess, of that episode. And it's really dope. You guys should go check it out. And after that, I was kind of inspired by my own podcast, as silly as that might sound. And I started going deeper. So I started going to more meetups, and then I started going to hackathons. So on the first episode, I was speaking more towards tech meetups and tech conferences, but not specifically hackathons. And to those of you who don't know, my name's Anthony Delgado. I started coding between 2005 and 2007. And then I discovered Twilio, right? So Twilio is a communication as a service API company. So it's for developers by developers. Right. So I discovered them in 2013, and I became a little bit of a fanboy because there's all this cool stuff that you can do with it, and all these superpowers that you can kind of add to your arsenal, right? So around 2014, I met Rob Spector, who's the lead technology evangelist at Twilio. I met him at a meetup in NYC, and they were unveiling their Twilio video WebRTC platform. And WebRTC is like real-time video communications in the browser. So you can basically create your own FaceTime and integrate it into your own app with a few lines of code and the help of Twilio, right?
Amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff. So I met Rob Spector at this meetup, and it was in Manhattan, and they unveiled it, and it was in like private alpha, like not even beta, right? Mm-hmm. And I asked Rob after the event. I said, "Hey, I want to get my hands on an API key. How do I get into this alpha program, this testing beta program?" Right? And he said, "Oh, well, to get an API key, it's really simple. Just travel across the country to our technology conference in California."
Sounds easy.
Yeah, so easy enough, right? And travel across the country and go get this API key, right? So I called this bluff, and I traveled across the country, and I got my API key, and I built a video chat app on the conference room floor. Like within an hour of them giving out this API key, I was already hacking away. So I came back to NYC, and I actually left my job at a telco. I was working at a telephony organization. So I was the web developer working at the phone company. So it's like the perfect crossroads to be like a Twilio fanboy, right? But I wanted to get deeper into software and deeper into development. So I ended up leaving my job at the telco, and I started working for websignia, who's a digital agency here on the East Coast. So when I went there, I brought my Twilio superpowers with me. So I was able to create video apps. I was able to send SMS from a browser, from a web app, from a mobile app. I was able to make real-time calls in a browser. So I brought all these superpowers with me, and I was able to tell those stories. So the stories that I told were probably a big part of why I got hired. And then as we integrated those into the solutions for our clients, it really added value to their projects as well.
Got it. So all of these skill sets that you've learned by working with the Twilio API has really like grown your career, and not just the skills that you've learned, but really the proactiveness that you approach, right? You were like, hey, I'm going to go to these meetup groups. Hey, I'm going to talk to this developer. Hey, I'm going to like literally travel across the country and get an API key. I'm going to learn this. And that was all Anthony, just like hustle on his own, like wanting to do stuff and build his career, build his superpower repertoire, right? And amazing things have happened since then.
Absolutely. So Twilio's APIs are awesome, right? But more inspiring than just their APIs is the way that they talk about software and the way that they talk about solving problems with software. So I've been like super inspired. I was super inspired even before I started going to their conferences, because all the previous year's conferences are recorded. So I kind of like Netflix binged a lot of their content. And then when I started going out there, yeah, it's really inspiring. And they don't really push their product down your throat, right? They show you the products. Yes, our products are awesome. But more important than just their product is just doing awesome things with software. And if you sprinkle a little Twilio magic on top of your app, then it's even cooler, right?
That's amazing. And I love the idea of binge watching these, talking to my wife every evening. Hey, what are we going to watch tonight? And the looks that I get when I say something like, you know what, we're going to go back to 2010 and we're going to binge watch all of the Twilio conferences. And she's like, yeah, you're going to be sleeping on the couch tonight, dude, if that's what you're going to be watching. Okay. All right, so you have learned these superpowers, you have got up to speed, you have gone to the conferences, you have done all amazing things, and recently we talked about how you have been at hackathons, and how we kind of touched on it in the last episode, in episode 203, Hacking Technology for Fun and Profit, and you kind of mentioned a little bit about hackathons and why those were so fun. But since then, since that episode, some pretty cool stuff has happened to you. Do you want to share that with us today?
Absolutely. So it was definitely some life-changing things have happened in the past few months since our last episode. So I started attending the Rutgers Coding Bootcamp part-time. So I'm still working full-time at the agency, and then I'm going to this bootcamp nights and weekends, right? And Rutgers is a very prestigious university here on the East Coast. And they've been around since like the 1700s. They were founded around the same time as Harvard, and they tout that. But they're a public university here in New Jersey. They're one of the first universities in the country. And so where I've been going to their continuing education program, it's a coding bootcamp to do full stack Node, JavaScript, React, MongoDB. So like the whole MERN stack.
Right.
And they had a hackathon about a month after we recorded our episode. And to those of you who don't know, the episodes that are recorded, they don't go out right away, right? There's a backlog so that Chad can keep up with them, right? So I attended the Rutgers, it's called HackRU Hackathon, and there were over 790 students who competed, and we built a video chat app for mentoring of Rutgers students. So it was a closed network. You had to have a Rutgers.edu email address to sign up. And it was a platform to allow students, like younger students, undergrads, to connect with older students and even alumni and get mentoring. So basically get advice from someone who has literally walked down the same hallways and walked in their same shoes, right?
Nice.
And then they're able to jump into a one-on-one video call and connect using Twilio's API. So with a click of a button, they can go from being completely alone on a new campus, right, to being face-to-face, one-on-one with a Rutgers alumni. So we built this platform. Again, to those of you who don't know, a hackathon is a 24-hour hacking competition. So you come in the morning and you hack until the next day, and it's a 24 to 36-hour process where you don't sleep, or you sleep very minimally, and then you present after a day has gone by. You present your app. So we presented our app. Again, we competed against over 700 other contestants, and we walked away with not one, but two of the top grand prizes. So best overall Rutgers hack, and then the best use of Twilio's API.
That's awesome. Dude, congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was so life-changing. Like, I almost cried. It was ridiculous. It was very life-changing.
So when folks are signing up for these hackathons, like, do you know what the topic's going to be about? Do you know what technologies they're going to use? Kind of fill our audience in, and me in, because I haven't participated in one, and kind of when you're first starting, when you go to your first hackathon event, kind of what you expect. Maybe share a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So when you sign up for these hackathons, we went to a few hackathons before the Rutgers one. We went to one or two, and we kind of punked out, to be honest with you. We didn't stay the whole 24 hours. So we went home and went to sleep, and by the time we came back, it was like too late to even pitch. And we were just like watching other people get awards. But we kind of got a feel for them before we ended up doing the Rutgers one. And since we were part of Rutgers Coding Bootcamp, we were like, no, like, this is the one we have to win, right?
Right. This is home campus. Like, we're going to own this one. We're not going home and taking a nap. Like, we're here for the full 24 hours.
Absolutely. So, like, when we won the best overall Rutgers hack, they were like screaming, like, our chant is like R, and then everyone else says U. So they were like chanting RU, and I felt like a quarterback at
nice. That's awesome.
But yeah, so you have to do your research, right? So ahead of time, before we go to these hackathons, we do brainstorming, right? So we have a plan ahead of time, and we look at all the possible things that you can win for. So some hackathons are simpler. So some of them just have like a grand prize and then maybe a runner-up. But a lot of them have multiple things and categories that you can win and classify for. So, for example, the hackathon that we attended at Rutgers, there were all these sponsors there. So you had Google there, you had Twilio, you had MongoDB, you had Linode, you had Capital One Bank, and you name it. I'm probably leaving out a lot of other companies. But basically, all of these companies have APIs and things that they want developers to interact with and build into their apps. So every single vendor that's there, 9 times out of 10 does have a prize that you could qualify for the use of their API. So Amazon is usually at a lot of these. So basically just building something really, really cool and then deploying it to AWS. That classifies you to win the best Amazon hack, right? We won one of the hacks we won at RU. We won 2 of them. One of them was the best use of Twilio. So we made sure that we were building a Twilio app and that we were very intentional in our marketing messaging to let people know that, yes, we built this Twilio app. And then you have to make sure that you submit. So a lot of these hackathons, there's 2 main platforms. One is called DevPost, and the other one is called hackathon.io. And basically, you upload your project, you upload your teammates, you kind of attach your portfolio item to the particular hackathon, and then you have to individually apply for all the things that you want to compete for. So we built our project with MongoDB, right? That was one of the technologies we used, and they were a vendor there. So we made sure to apply to win their award. But yeah, definitely go in ahead of time. A lot of times they'll also have criteria for social change. So we just went to the Motorola Hackathon last week, and one of them was medical, one of them was retail, and I think the other one was fashion, right? So you have to read the verticals that they're trying to target and then try to solve the problems that they're looking for you to solve.
Gotcha. Right. So at each hackathon, there's kind of an overall, like, who is the host, and then there's a bunch of vendors and sponsors who have different APIs and have different capabilities that you could potentially put in the app. And then you have other, like, social change things. So there could be potential of, 5 or 10 or 20 different awards being given out for different categories. And so when you're entering the hackathon, you're entering the overall competition, but you're also kind of picking and choosing, like, hey, which tech stacks and which social change things are we going to try to win via our app that kind of goes into the overall theme of the overall hackathon. And now when we create our project and submit our end result, then we're kind of checking the boxes on all the categories that we think that our hack or our app or our technology fits into, right? So maybe we're able to win one or more of these awards.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
So for HackRU, two of the other prizes that come to mind that we did submit for was Viacom. So Viacom was there, MTV, and everyone who's under the Viacom umbrella. They had a best video hack, so we applied for that. And then MongoDB was there, and we applied because we used MongoDB in our database. And it was actually pretty cool. We spoke to both of those vendors after the fact, and they said, "Dude, your thing was awesome. Like, we wish we could have gave our awards to you, but it wouldn't have been fair. Like, we had to spread the love a little bit."
Yeah.
But the other thing that's interesting is you really want to apply for as many as possible, not only because obviously you want to win them all, right? But more important than that, the vendors come and speak to you. Well, sometimes the vendors will only come and speak to you if you're applying for one of their prizes. So like the Viacom people, for example, they didn't go to everyone's table. They only went and spoke one-on-one with the people who were applying for the Viacom prize. So you want to get your app and your idea in front of as many people as possible, make as many connections as possible, right? And then when they go back to deliberate, you want the most amount of judges talking about you, because they're all going to go back and deliberate. So if 5 vendors see your app, then that's even a better chance of you winning the overall hack.
Awesome. Great stuff. So through these tips, through this activity, like, what has been the overall result? So give our audience kind of a big picture of the awards, not just at Rutgers, but all the awards that you've won recently, and kind of how it has shaped or affected your career going forward.
Absolutely. So the networking potential of going to these events is huge. Mm-hmm. So at the Rutgers Hackathon, I met a developer evangelist from MongoDB. And right after the hackathon, I sent him a nice email and I thanked him for his help at the hackathon. And I asked if he will come speak at our class. So he actually came in and gave a talk at our class, and it was really awesome, right? And now that's like a lifelong connection. So I'm very intentional in trying to connect with the people that are there and possibly do business with them in the future, right? We met people from Google. We met people from Twilio, all these awesome places. At the next hackathon we went to was Hack&NJIT, and NJIT is another big tech school here on the East Coast. And we won one of their awards for hack harassment. And hack harassment is actually...
Hack harassment? What is that?
Yes. It's actually a nonprofit designed to use technology to solve bullying and harassment problems on campuses.
Awesome. That is fantastic.
So it's a conglomerate from Vox Media, the Born This Way Foundation, which is Lady Gaga's nonprofit, and their whole mission is to bring technology solutions to campuses to try to stop harassment.
That's fantastic.
So we won that award, and they actually reached out after the event. And well, first let me tell you what we built. So what we built was a campus hotline. And again, this is using Twilio. So we built a campus hotline that students could call in and basically leave anonymous tips if they're stressed out. So let's say they have a deadline coming up. Let's say they have a professor that's bothering them. Let's say there's another student that's bothering them or picking on them. Like, there's all these use cases where people may want to let someone know, but may still also want to be anonymous, right?
Right. Yep.
So they're able to call into this hotline, leave an anonymous tip, and then that anonymous tip gets transcribed, and the text from that message gets posted on like an anonymous bulletin board. And people can go and comment on that. And when they comment on that bulletin board post, the user gets a text message, but they still remain anonymous. And then if they choose to, then they can go and interact and engage with one of the commenters. So, for example, someone can comment, someone could call the hotline and say, hey, I'm really stressed out on this midterm. This professor, he's really hard. He's being really hard on me, right? They might not want to say that publicly, so they can say that anonymously. And then another alumni can comment on that post, connect with them via SMS. And if they choose to come out of the shadows, then they can go ahead and connect with the person one-on-one and even do audio calling in the browser. So it's a pretty awesome, powerful platform. It was built using WebRTC and, again, the Twilio secret sauce. And we won the Hack Harassment Award. After that, a few weeks after that, we went to Hack and AT&T. And that was in Manhattan. And there was, I think, about 500 to 600 people who competed. And this was the big boys. So the first two that we went to, they were university hacks. So it was a lot of students, still fierce competition, smart students going for masterates in computer science. But Hack AT&T was not university. So this was wide open to the public. And we actually met people at Hack AT&T who had traveled from overseas, who had flew in from Europe to compete. And we're a bunch of Jersey boys. We live right across the water from Manhattan. So we took one train and got there in 10 minutes. And we're meeting these guys like, hey, where you from? Oh, yeah, we're from Germany. And it's like, oh, did you guys fly in for this too? Where are you staying? Where's your hotel? And it's like, oh, no, we live across the water. Like, we're
Yep, hack your travel.
Yeah, hack your travel, right? Airbnb. But so we competed at the AT&T Hackathon, and we actually won their best overall hack, and
awesome.
We won a grand prize of $5,000.
Dude, congratulations. Congratulations on all these. I mean, such amazing awards, such amazing categories that you're competing in, and for great causes and stuff like that. And as you said, we kind of joked a little pre-show, and you were telling me just like it's been life-changing, and one of the awards that you got was like right when your Hello Tech Pros episode 203 came out, and you won the award, and then you saw on iTunes.
Oh yeah, it was so epic, Chad. So it was actually the very first hackathon, right?
Yeah.
So we totally weren't expecting to win. We were competing against so many people. We were tired. We didn't sleep. I slept like 30 minutes, right? And I'm driving my friend home, and we're talking, we're basically basking in the glory of this win. And all of a sudden, ping, the podcast iTunes app. Anthony Delgado on Hello Tech Pros. And I'm like, oh my God, my life is complete now. Like, I can quit at life. Like, that's what I was telling everybody for the next week. I'm like, I'm done with life for the next week. I don't have to do anything else. If I don't do anything for the next week, like, I'm good. And yeah, so my first podcast, and you were my first podcast that I was ever on, and my first tech podcast, my first hackathon win happened at the same exact time. So it was really epic.
Well, good. I'm glad I could be with you there in spirit, if not in person. It sounds amazing. So since then, I mean, you have won 3 hackathons back to back to back, right? So the first couple of hackathons, you kind of showed up, you checked it out, you looked at them, did a little research, and then went back to bed. And then the next three, you're like, boom, 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 and you just nailed it, right? You understood the requirements, you understood what the vision of what the sponsors wanted and what the social change folks wanted, and you went in there. You knew your secret sauce. You knew your technology, and you built awesome hacks. But at the same time, you learned how to hack the hackathons, right? And so you told me offline that you've come up with 5 ways to hack the hackathons that I think could really help our audience maybe win their local competitions. So can you break that down for us? What are the ways that you learned how to hack the hackathons to win 3 trophies in a row?
Absolutely. So the first one is just be prepared, right? So I'm a Boy Scout, and that was drilled down to me since I was young. Mm-hmm. So be prepared, brainstorm ahead of time, know the competition, read the requirements, read where you have to submit your hack. Like, we've went to these things and kids don't even know that they need to sign up for an account and they need to submit their hack, and they get down to the last minutes and then they're not even able to submit. So they competed for 24 hours and they don't even know where to submit.
Ouch.
So
that's like completing an essay and forgetting to write your name on the paper and turn it in for 0 credit.
Exactly.
Oh, ouch.
So definitely do your recon ahead of time and make sure that you're prepared before you arrive, right? The next tip is hack the MVP. So you need to build an MVP that is ready to demo. You have to realize what features are going to be able to be shown during your demo and what aren't. So like advanced database structure, yes, you should have a nice database schema that works and functions. But if you're trying to make an advanced algorithm that may not be able to be demoed, maybe do an algorithm that's not as advanced as your production version would be, but it's enough to demo. So I'll give you an example. Our third hackathon that we won was the AT&T Developer Summit hackathon, right? And we built a interviewing platform called Interview IQ to basically allow developers to hack the job market. So you would upload videos with common interview questions. So tell me more about yourself and things of that nature. And then you would be able to speed interview candidates. And then if you're really interested in the candidate, you're able to reach out to them using Twilio's video or Twilio's voice calling to call their cell phone, right?
Cool.
So one of the features that we roadmapped and wanted to have was the ability to record a video on the platform, right? Mm-hmm. But we only have 24 hours. So rather than do that, we used YouTube for those interviews that were basically pre-recorded. We didn't want to we would like to build our own YouTube as the roadmap, as the 5-year or the 1-year roadmap. Yeah, we would like to build a platform where you can upload your own videos, right? But in the limited amount of time and for the sake of demoing, we didn't have enough time to complete that. So we used YouTube as a piggyback for that feature. So hack the MVP and build something that's going to look good to demo and is going to be able to be your pitch deck. So some of these competitions, they don't allow you to have a pitch deck. So your MVP, the thing that you build, needs to be your pitch deck. It needs to have enough screens and enough views to take you through the user journey. But at the same time, don't overdevelop features that are not going to be demoable. So
that makes sense because you're showing it off to people, right? And so you can't show off a awesome database that's structured, 9 ways to Sunday and has the most awesome, administrative screens. Nobody cares about that. They want to see like what's the end user, like what are we using, what are we doing, who are we helping, how's it going to help them? And some of the tech can be like hacked. Like you said, it's just a hack. It's just like, hey, let's put some spaghetti code together. Let's get it working. Let's present as our 24-hour hack. And then, later, if somebody actually picks us up and wants to support it as a, 10-person team going forward for the next 3 years, then we can build all those features. But for now, I've said it a couple times on this show, let's build an MVP OS, right? Let's build a minimum viable piece of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And one of the things to remember is, more importantly than just the tech, it's the idea and the presentation. So building something that's technically sound is very important. Using advanced technologies, again, very important. But more important than that is, what is your idea? So there's actually some good starter scripts. You should know the stack that you're going to use before you come in. We've been using Node.js and Express. And there's actually a project that I haven't tried yet, but it's called the Hackathon Starter Kit. And if you want, we can link that in the show notes.
Sure.
And it allows you to have an Express app with like GitHub authentication and Facebook authentication and Twilio integration and all this stuff right out of the box. I haven't tried it yet. We've been using just vanilla Express. But you want to get in there and basically get an MVP up and running and not over-architect or over-engineer your project.
Perfect. So that's step 1, be prepared. Step 2, hack the MVP. What is step 3?
So step 3 is hack your sleep, right? So hashtag sleep is for the weak. You need to use all 24 hours to build, or maybe 23 of them. Mm-hmm. So what we've done at the hackathons that we've won is I've set a timer for 60 to 90 minutes tops. And I've taken turns with the other people in my team so that while I'm sleeping, someone else is coding and vice versa.
Gotcha.
So at the Rutgers Hackathon, I actually we drove down to New Brunswick with it, which is in like central Jersey, and we're online for like midnight snack or midnight lunch. And I'm thinking to myself, and I say, oh, snap, I have an airbed in my trunk that I used to go camping. So I ran to the parking lot and I grabbed this airbed and I blow it up. And they had a room on the 4th floor where people were allowed to sleep, and everyone's sleeping on the floor, and we blow up this big airbed.
Nice.
But yeah, so set a timer. Don't sleep for more than an hour. Don't go home and sleep. If you go home and sleep, you're not coming back.
Right.
So hack your sleep and then take turns, and then make sure that your team member also knows, has that 60-minute timer set so that he can come wake you up and kind of take turns.
Very good. All right. Hacking the sleep. And then step 4 is?
Hack the judges. So you need to know your audience and be sure that you're ready ahead of time. So read the rules, know the price, know what prizes are up for grabs, and then also know what the requirements to win those prizes are, and target them ahead of time. So I'll give you an example. The NJIT, we won hack harassment. We specifically built our app for hack harassment. So we read the requirements, and then we built something based on what they were requesting to be built.
Very cool. So it's really knowing all of the different requirements from all of the different sponsors, and really custom tailoring a product vision that really kind of ties multiple of those visions together, right? So we have this technology sponsor and technology sponsor number 2, and we have the community support sponsor, and we're going to tie all 3 of those requirements together. And now, what can we solve using all 3 of these messages?
Absolutely. So since we won 3 in a row, I started going to some different hackathons that we haven't won, and some of them have been like civic hackathons, right? And the civic hackathons, I'll tell you, they're very difficult because their scope is so difficult. So we went to one that was like hack something for energy conservation and like going green, and we basically blanked out on ideas because we're like, what are we going to build? I don't know how to build an app that makes things greener, right?
Right.
But you have to know the competition, and the best tech won't win. So I actually went to a similar civic hackathon where the person who won with a pitch deck and no tech built at all.
Wow.
So I think that's kind of a trend more in civic hackathons because it's a more bureaucratic environment. Mm-hmm. But regardless, it just goes to show you that it's the idea that's winning these things and not necessarily the tech.
Gotcha. So a lot of the execution of the idea, it can be smoke and mirrors. It can be dog and pony. It can be very, very MVPOS, right? But the idea sounds like you have to really, really understand your target audience. You have to understand the judges, and you have to come up with just a killer idea that's going to win it. And then you got to have the tech or the non-tech to put together to demo.
Absolutely. And that goes back to the brainstorming phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be prepared and you want to brainstorm with your team before you even get to the hackathon. Like a week before, you guys should have a pretty good idea of what it is you want to build. And that can evolve once you get there. But you want to have a good idea so that as soon as you get there, you can start coding. The very, very first hackathon we went to was called Hack Cooper. And it was a really awesome hackathon. The winners actually got flown out to meet Mark Zuckerberg and pitch in front of him, which was really cool.
Nice.
But that was the very first one we went to. And we went there and we didn't have an idea. And we spent the first 8 hours brainstorming ideas. And by the time it was actually time to build, we were like tired. And we actually did build something that was really cool, but if we would have had the full 24 hours to build, we definitely would have been set up for success, right? So have your idea before you even get there and be ready to just start building and hit the ground running as soon as you reach the hackathon.
All right. So step 1, be prepared. Step 2, hack the MVP. Step 3, sleep is for the weak. Step 4, know your judges and make sure your hack is going to please them. And then at the end, the last step, what is it to make sure that we nail it?
So the last step is to hack the pitch. So you need to perfect your pitch ahead of time. Practice makes perfect, right? A lot of these hackathons, you only have 2 to 3 minutes to demo. And after that, there's like an alarm clock that goes off and they're like throwing you off stage. It's like Showtime at the Apollo. They have the stick and they're just getting you off stage. So you have to practice that. It's very easy to start pitching, breeze through 2 minutes, and you didn't even start your demo yet.
Wow.
So maybe an hour or two before it's time to pitch, what we've done is we have practiced our pitches. We have written down notes. We have set up a timer and done our pitch 5, 10, 15 times in a row until we have it down like clockwork. So you really have to perfect your pitch, especially in the events where the pitch is being timed. One of our goals is actually to go to TechCrunch Disrupt, which is one of like the biggest hackathons in the world, right?
Nice.
And their pitch is 60 seconds. So in 60 seconds, you have to be able to demo your app, explain the problem, explain the solution, and explain the purpose of why you built what you did while simultaneously demoing your application so they can see the functionality in 60 seconds. So if you can't do it in 3 minutes, you're going to have no chance of doing it in 60 seconds, right?
Absolutely. So, I mean, wow, you got to have like not just the pitch, you got to have team coordination where people are knowing what to click while the other person is talking, while another person is setting things up. It's got to be a very, very coordinated pitch.
Absolutely. So what we've done in the past, not for every hackathon, but for AT&T and for some of the ones going forward, is we've written down notes of what we want to say. We've written down almost a script where we can pass the mic back and forth. And then we've timed ourselves and we've looked at it. And then we've maybe circled back and trim the fat and trim down the filler words and like, okay, well, for example, the for example doesn't add any value to the conversation, so let's delete that sentence, right? Mm-hmm. And we've really perfected the art of getting all of these features crammed into a 2 to 3 minute pitch. And AT&T was actually a perfect example of that. We had so many features. We had user sign up, user registration. We performed sentiment analysis on the resume and return basically an identity profile. And then we match job seekers with employers intelligently based on culture fit. And that was just one feature. Right. Then we had audio calling and we had video calling and we had resume upload and we had all these features and we had to demo them in 2 minutes and explain why they were valuable and why they were important.
Yeah, I'm thinking like I could have literally like a 30 to 60 minute podcast episode on each one of those features and each one of those apps, and I would be just fine with it. I mean, I think that would be a lot of content, but a lot of really, really cool content to nerd out on. And I'm imagining, oh my gosh, if we just had 2 minutes to pitch this thing, what would that be like? That would be nuts.
Yeah, and it's actually really career building and good for your personal development, because once you can hack a 2-minute pitch at a hackathon in front of a bunch of people, the elevator pitch or the job interview is going to be so much easier, because now you're only presenting to 2 or 3 people, right?
Right.
And you have more than 2 minutes. So it's definitely been an experience where I've been able to grow as a developer and as a professional.
So cool. Anthony, thank you so much for coming back on the show for the second time and really filling in the details. Last episode, we talked more personally of why you like hackathons, why you enjoy software development, all the great things that you can do in your off hours outside of your 9-to-5 day job in order to both have fun and increase your career, increase your skill sets and technology and all the superpowers that you have. This episode, I think, is really, really tactical, down to the level of here's the 5 things that you need to do in order to win the hackathons, and why hackathons are so amazing to join and be a part of. So, Anthony, thank you so much for joining me again on Hello Tech Pros. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Chad.
You bet. Tech Pros, if you want to join a hackathon, there's so much content that we've had here on this episode. If you missed any of it, if you go to hellotechpros.com/259, that's hellotechpros.com/259, we'll get access to all of the show notes that we've been talking about today. And maybe we'll put Anthony's deck in here, the How to Hack the Hackathons deck, so that you can win your local hackathons as well, and maybe go up against Anthony head-to-head at the next competition. So, Anthony, before we go, can you give a shout-out to the best ways that we can connect with you?
Absolutely. So you can email me at anthonydelgado.me. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn in/Anthony-Delgado. And you can follow me on GitHub at Anthony Delgado.
Awesome. Anthony, thanks again for joining us on Hello Tech Pros. And I hope to see you again soon at the next podcast or at the next hackathon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chad.
Tech Pros, you've been listening to Anthony Delgado, and I'm Chad Bostic. And until next time, take care. The show notes page for this episode can be found at hellotechpros.com/259. Do you use Slack for team communication? Join the Hello Tech Pros Slack channel at hellotechpros.com/Slack. If this episode helped you out in any way, please leave a review on iTunes and let me know what you thought. iTunes reviews helps our rankings, which helps us grow the Hello Tech Pros podcast to a broader audience, which helps more technical professionals and techpreneurs build their career, build their products, and build their businesses. If you are a subscriber and get repeat value out of this show, consider becoming a sponsor on Patreon. The information on this podcast is free to everyone, but I'm giving you the opportunity to pay for the value you get out of it, starting as little as $1 a month. Pledge your support today at patreon.com/hellotechpros or visit hellotechpros.com/sponsor.